So let us continue from the previous session. Uh, we have found the wind load here. The values of these coefficients are 0.731. This is 0.731 and this is 0.8. So and we can obtain this value uh, by considering different this wind wind this table. In this table you will get this. See, for wind acting normal to eve, means suppose let me just open the this is for pitch groove. So in our case the angle is 26.566. Okay, and the h by w ratio is between 1 by 2 to 3 by 2. Okay, so you can make a table like for 20 degree it is minus 0.7. See, when this, for reference, consider this figure. This is when theta is equals to 0, wind is acting on this EF. Okay, so this is windward side and GH is the leeward side. Now when theta is equals to 90 degree, that means theta is equals to 90 degree, that means this EG will be the windward side and FH will be the leeward side. So here the coefficients for both wind direction 0 and 90 degree are given. So you can have your values. So when theta is equals to 0 degree, the windward coefficient is minus 0.371. So theta is equals to 0 degree, the windward coefficient is, you interpolate the value between this 0.7 and 0.2. At 20 it is minus 0.7 and at 30 it is minus 0.2. So at 20 our angle is 26.566. The value will be 0.3717. So it is 0.3717. See what you can do, you can make a table like this. This is E, F, G, H, and this is the direction of the wind. Consider two cases. One, wind acting from this direction, theta is equals to 0 degree. Okay, this is window. And when theta is equals to 90 degree, theta is equals to 90 degree. So now when theta is equals to 0 degree, this is windward side. Windward side will be, this will be windward side and this will be leeward side. This is windward side, this is leeward side. And when theta is equals to 90 degree, this will be windward side, this will be leeward side. So windward side here will be EF, leeward side will be GH. and windward side when wind is acting at 90 degree will be Eg, and leeward side will be Fh. So you have the coefficients from IS 875 table. If you see this table, you have these coefficients. Okay, for EF, GH, EG, and FH. EF, GH. These are when theta is equals to 0 degree. Okay. Then you have theta equals to 90 degree. You have coefficient EG and HF or FH. So at 20 degree and at 30 degree you have the values. You have to interpolate the value between these two, which is 26.566 degree. So at 20 degree it is minus 0.7 and it is minus 0.2. Okay, minus 0.7 minus 0.2. This is minus 0.5 minus 0.5 minus 0.5 minus 0.5. Okay, so obviously this value will be minus 0.5 only because it is constant, and this value is minus 0.3717. If you interpolate this value, you will get this. Then here it is minus 0.8 and this 0.6 and 0.8. Minus 0.6 minus 0.8 minus 0.8 minus 0.8. Obviously this value will be minus 0.8, and for this you have to interpolate for FH. This will be minus 0.7313. So these are the values of external pressure coefficient. Okay. Now this value 0.371, 0.371, 0.5. This is point. Uh, 0.5. Then on the other side, 0.8, 0.8, 0.37, 731, 0.73. Okay, these are one with plus, one with plus CPI, and one with negative CPI, one with positive CPI, one with negative CPI. Now if you take this CPE minus CPI, you will get this. So then you multiply this with effective this CP minus CPI with effective frontal area and design wind pressure, you will get this, the wind force on windward side and wind force on the leeward side. Okay, so in our case, on the windward side, the external pressure coefficient is point, out of these two, the maximum one is 0.731. So this will be 0.731. Okay, this governing is this one. And on the windward side, if you see the maximum is minus 0.8 and maximum is minus 0.731. So that is this one. Okay, so this is actually your windward side and this is leeward side. You can see this 0.8 is this when theta is 90 degree, EG is the windward side. So this is windward side. Okay, and FH is the leeward side. Okay. Similarly, EF is the windward side and this is leeward side. So this uh, this 0.8 is windward side and this 0.737 is leeward side. So this is your leeward side, this is windward side. So this is your actually windward side. So on windward side, the force is minus 18.8 kilonewton, that is suction case. Then on the leeward side, this is 0.731. So this value will be 17.48. Let us say 17.5. This will be 17.48. Let us say 17.5. So this is the final value. This is again the windward side and this is leeward side. So on windward side, we have 18.8 full panel load and half panel load is half of that 18.8, that is 9.4. On the leeward side, it is 17.5 and half of that 17.5 by 2, that is 8.75. So now we have found all the panel points, load at the panel points for dead load, live load and wind load. So now let us see how this looks like. So this is the dead load at panel points. This is the space diagram, or simply load diagram. Load. So this is the figure showing dead load at panel points. So these are the half panel points and these are the full panel points. Similarly, this figure shows the live load at the panel points. And this is wind load at panel point. But this is leeward side, wind acting on leeward side. 17.5 and 8.75. This is 17.5, 8. Similarly, we can have this this diagram. This windward side, wind load at panel point. Windward side. Eighteen point eight, 9.4 is the half panel load. 18.82 panel load and half panel is 19.4. Okay, now we have the load on the trusses. Now we have to analyze this truss. So for analysis, we'll use graphical method. As discussed earlier, we can use graphical method, we can use method of joint, method of section, or matrix method, or any computer code. So but here we will be using graphical method. So next step is analysis of root truss. Actually this is part of the analysis only. So this diagram, these are actually the part of the analysis only, analysis of root truss. This was load calculation. So we have calculated all the loads here. Now next step is the analysis. So all this is analysis. for dead load, live load, and wind load case. So these are the load diagrams. Now to analyze the truss, we will be using graphical method. Using graphical method. So, so for graphical method, you should know the Bose notation. So we first give Bose notation to all the members, and then uh, we uh, we assume some scale for geometry as well as for the loads, and and prepare the vector diagram. So you can, so these are the space diagram and vector diagram for dead load. See, for dead load and live load, you can have a unit load diagram also. Let us say this is 0.5 kilonewton, 1 kilonewton, 2 kilonewton, or 1 kilonewton. All means all full panel loads are 1 kilonewton and half panel loads are 0.5 kilonewton. And you can draw a vector diagram for that. And finally, whatever the value you get for the member force, you scale it up with the value of the full panel load for the dead load and for the live load. Hello. So analysis of dead load using graphical method. The graphical method you might have studied in mechanics of solid in, in semester 3. So here this is L naught, L1, L2. These are our joints. Okay, joints at the lower chord. L0 are represented by L1, L0, L1, L2, L3, L4. Okay, and the joints at the upper chord are represented by U1, U2, U3, U4, U5, U6, and so on. So wherever there is a space, you have to give the Bose notation. So in graphical method, the first step would be to give the Bose notation. First step is give Bose notation. Now Bose notation is given wherever the space is created, wherever there is a space created, you give the notations. Okay. So as you can see, between this load vector and this load vector there is a space. Okay. So we give this Bose notation A. Okay, this is A. Then between this load vector and this load vector there is a space. So you give it as B. Between these two and we give it in clockwise manner. Okay, and it is given in clockwise manner. Okay, so C, D, E, F. This is actually drawn in the center. Not, this is not uh, here. It is at the center. G, H, I, J, and K. Okay. Now once all the outer members are designated, then we give the notations for the inner member. So here there is one space created. Okay, so this is one. Here again it is created 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. Now once the both notation are done, then you find out the reactions of the truss. So you have all the vertical loads, and since it is symmetrical, it will, half load will be shared by reaction on the left side and half will be shared on reaction on the right side. So find reactions. So next step would be, this is steps for graphical method. Find reactions. Okay. Now once you have these reactions, then this is your space diagram. This diagram is called space diagram. And this diagram is called vector diagram. Usually this vector diagram is drawn below this space diagram. So how to draw this? You assume some scale. Okay. So from this you draw the space diagram. Next we draw the vector diagram. So to draw the vector diagram, here assume scale. You have to assume some scale. Let us say 1 meter equals to, let us say, x centimeter, and 1 kilonewton equals to, let us say, y centimeter. So you have to assume some scale depending on the area of the plot you have. Uh, you have to assume some scale so that it fits into your sheet. Now you have assumed some scale for the load vector. Let us say for load vector the scale is 1 kilonewton is equals to y centimeter, and for the space diagram it is 1 meter is equals to x centimeter. Okay, this is the scale. This is scale for vector diagram. So now let us say you have assumed 1 kilonewton is equals to 1 centimeter. Let us say it is 1 centimeter. So this is 3.7. So you draw 3.7 centimeter line. Then that means from A to B, when you move from A to B, the load is 3.7, and 1 kilonewton is equals to 1 centimeter. Let us say 1 centimeter. So you draw 3.7 centimeter line in the direction of the load. Here the load is acting in downward direction, so in the downward direction. So this is the downward direction. Okay. Then from B to C, when you go B to C, there is one load, one more load, 7.4 kilonewton. So you draw a line which is 7.4 centimeter, and the direction of the load is in downward direction. That is also in downward direction. Then From C to D, again 7.4, so again draw a line of 7.4 centimeter in downward direction. Okay, likewise you draw all the lines. See, same thing will be reflected below this K. It will be mirror of this. Okay, this same will be mirror here. See, you draw C to D, D to E, okay, F to G, G to H, H to I to J. Now, when you draw J, you will be somewhere here. Okay. Then from J to K, the reaction is acting in upward direction. So you draw from J, you draw in upward direction. So you will get the value of K. So that will be at the mid of this. Okay, getting? See, this is C to D, C to D, then D to E. So this is D to E, then E to F. So E to F. So you will get some value here F. Okay, then F to G, G, G to H. This is somewhere H. H to I. This is I, and I to J. This is J. Okay. And all these will be acting in downward direction. Now, when you move from J to K, there is upward force. So from this J point, you draw a scale line of 29.6 in upward direction. So from here, you draw a point 29.6 upward. So you will get this K point. Okay. So you have this load vector. This is load vector. Okay. Once the load vector is drawn, then we draw the members. So this member is B1. So B1 intersects K at A, K at 1. Okay, so you draw a line parallel to this. So you take a roller here and draw a line parallel to this B. Now it intersects the K at 1. Okay, this B1 meets at K at 1. Similarly, draw C2. Draw a line parallel to C2. Okay. Now, how to find these two? For 2, you have to take a line parallel to this. So you draw a line parallel to this. So you will get this. Okay. First, you draw this line. Okay. You will get this point 1. Then you draw this line C. You don't know the value of 2, where this 2 will be. So you draw a line array, and then you take a line parallel to 1 2. So you take parallel to this, you will get 2 points. Then again you take a line parallel to 2 3. So you will get the point 3, because 3 intersects with K. So the point of intersection of this line with K will be your 3 point. Now you have 1 2 and 3. Now to determine the point 4, you cannot directly get this 4.4, so you have to add some dummy member. So here this dummy member Mn is added, and this member 4 5 is removed, and this dummy member Mn is added. So so now you draw a line 3m. Okay, this we have removed this 4 and 5. Now you draw this 3m. So draw a line parallel to this 3m, and similarly draw as earlier, draw a line parallel to d5. So you draw a line parallel to d5, but you don't know the point 5, so you just draw a line and then draw a line 3m. So this 3m, you will get this point m. And once you know this point m, then draw a line parallel to mn. So you will get point n. Okay, this point n. which is the intersection with line E. Okay, line E you can draw parallel to this. Means you have to first draw this line, all these lines parallel to B1, C2, D5, E6. Okay, B1, C2, D5, E6. But you don't know the value of 2, uh, 5, 6. So that we have to determine. So 1 will directly be obtained from intersection with K. 2 we obtain from intersection of line 1, 2 with line C. 3 is obtained from the intersection of line 2, 3 with K. Then M is obtained from intersection of 3M with D. Okay, so you will get this M. After that we get N point, which is obtained from the intersection of line MN with E. Okay, with E, so you will get this point. So now this N and 6 they are same. Then you draw a line parallel to 6, 7. So 6, 7. So you will get this line 6, 7. Okay. Now and then you project this line 3M. 3M. You will get this 4 point. Okay. And then you draw a line, horizontal line 4, 5. So you will get 5 point. Okay, so your sequence will be first, then you will get the second point, then you will get third point, then you will get M. From that you will get N. Now N and 6 they will be the same. So you will get the 6, and then from 6 to 7, then 7, and from then on this line 6, 7 line, on 6, 7, this 6, 7 line, you draw this this extend this M line, you will get this 4. Okay, and take line parallel to this 4, 5, you will get this 0.5. Okay, so this is how you can draw the this vector diagram for the dead load case. Similarly, for the live load case also, you can get this. For the live load case, it will be same. Analysis for live load. Using graphical. See here, there is an option for you. You can have a unit load diagram. Alternative method is method for dead load and live load. Draw unit panel point load. Draw unit panel point load, and for this unit load you draw the scalar and vector diagram. Now if you consider this as unit value, and draw this vector diagram, if you consider this as unit value, and draw this vector diagram, it will be this vector diagram will be applicable for both dead load and live load, because both the loads are gravity loads only, and we have symmetrical loading. Both dead load as well as live load, they are symmetrically loaded. So with one diagram you can have the member forces for both dead load and live load case. Just you have to do you just scale whatever the member force you get for the unit load diagram, you scale it up for the dead load or live load, whichever you are interested in. Okay, say for example you have drawn it for 1 kilonewton, so the value of the dead load will be 7.4 times whatever the value you are getting for the unit load. So you will get the diagram for the dead load case. Similarly for the live load case, for the live load case, same way you have to draw the space diagram and vector diagram. So instead of drawing two separate space diagram and vector diagram, you prepare a space diagram and vector diagram for unit load, and then multiply it with the value of the dead load or live load. You will So that will be easy, because drawing graph for both of these two cases will be time consuming. So better you prepare a unit load diagram and then the load vector diagram for that unit load, and then you scale it with the dead load value or live load value. You scale with dead load value, you will get the dead load member forces for the dead load. You scale it with the live load value, you will get the member forces for the live load cases. But for wind load, there will be different. So third case will be the analysis for wind load. And again, in wind load we have two cases. One is windward side and another is leeward side. So this is leeward side and this is windward side. For leeward side, our load was 17.5 intermediate panel load. Just verify this. This 17.5. That is your leeward side. To draw the wind load, now here again you do the Bose notation. Wherever there is a space in clockwise direction, so you will have two space created, because these loads are normal to the roof there will be horizontal component as well as vertical component of the reactions. Okay, so we will have one additional space. So let us start from this. So between these two load vectors there is A, B, C, D, E. Now here also one additional space is created. So that is S. We give the notations so that most of the member notations are same as our dead load or die load. So this is one additional space created for the wind load case. So this is the additional space. This one is the additional space. Okay. Then F, G, H, I, J. So these are all same as the earlier notations, but here we have one additional space here, that L, because we have these two reactions and in between there is a space. Then this is same as earlier, but we have one additional space created between this. So we give this S, P and L, they are additional space created for the wind load case. Then the inner members, one, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. Then now here this is your space diagram. Which is drawn with a scale of 1 centimeter is equals to x centimeter. Okay, and this is your vector diagram. It is drawn with a scale of 1 centimeter is equals to 1 kilonewton, or let us say y centimeter. 1 kilonewton is equals to y centimeter. Now to draw this, this is a load vector. Now load vector is drawn. Let us first start from this point A. From A to B, when you move from A to B, there is a load of 8.75 kilonewton. Okay. So you draw a load in the direction of this A to B, this vector. So you draw a line of, let us say 1 kilonewton is equals to 1 centimeter. So then in that case it will be 8.75. So this length will be 8.75 in the direction of this arrow. Okay. Then from B to C there is 17.5 kilonewton. So you draw a line B to C, which is again in the direction of this 17.5 kilonewton, and its length will be 17.5 centimeter. Then C to D, then D to E, then E to S. Okay, this is E to S. Now the directions will be in opposite direction, because the direction of roof is on the right side is mirror of on the left side. So now from S to F it will be 9.4. So this is 9.4. Then F to G 18.8. So draw a line 18.8 parallel to this. Then G to H, then H to I again 18.8, then H to J 9.4, then H to I to J, that is 9.4. Okay. Now from J to L, there is 1.17 kilonewton load in negative x direction. So in negative x direction, J to L, and then from L to K, it is in downward direction. So L to K in downward direction is 65.8 centimeters. So draw a line 65.8 kilonewton in downward direction. So you will get this point K. Then from K to K to P, again 64 kilonewton downward. So draw a line in downward direction 64 centimeter downward. Then from you will get this point P. Then from P to A, there is a 1.165 from right to left. So 1.125 right to left. So this is how your load vector will be drawn, and then you draw a member B1 line parallel to B1. So from this B, draw a line parallel to B1, okay, and its intersection with K will be your point 1. So intersection with line K will be your point 1. So this is your point 1 here, okay. Then you draw a line parallel to C2, but we don't know where this point 2 will be. Then draw a line parallel to D5, but we don't know the point 5. Then parallel to E6, but we don't know the point 6. So what we can do now, we draw 1, 2 parallel to this 1, 2. So this draw a line parallel to this 1, 2 that will intersect C at 2. So you will get this point 2. Then draw a line parallel to 2, 3 that will intersect K at 3. So you will get this point 3. Then to get point 4, we cannot get directly this point 4. So what we have to do, we have to add some dummy member Mn, same as the dead load case, and draw a line parallel to 3m. Okay, so you will get this line 3m. So this point you will get as m. Okay, this is m point here. And from that M, you draw a line parallel to Mn. So you will get this n point, and which is also the point 6. So you will get this 6 point. Then you draw a line parallel to 5, 6. You will get point 5. Then you draw a point 5, 4. You will get point 4 parallel to 5, 4. You will get point 4, and then you can get the remaining points like this point 7, which is draw a line 6, 7, which intersects with K. That will be your point 7. Okay, so with this, half of all the members are known. But here you have to draw the vector diagram for all the members, because the loading is not symmetrical. You have different loads on left side and different load on the right side. So you have to draw for all the members. Unlike dead load and live load case, which have all the loads same on left side as well as right side, here the loads are different. So you have to find other members also. So next you can start from here and obtain this point 13, then point 11, point 12 in the same manner. Just like point 4, you will have to do some extra means you have to add some dummy member N1, M2 to get this 0.10. Okay, and rest you can draw this vector diagram. So this is for the wind load on leeward side. Same way you will have analysis for wind load case. Windward side. Using graphical method. So for more details, you refer the book by S.K. Duggal. We are taking an example 15.14.1 of the same text. So you can refer for more details. And this is for the diagram for windward case. This is windward side. So similar to leeward side, you can draw the vector diagram for this windward side, and then finally you will get the member forces. So these are the member forces. So what you have to do, say for example B1 member, what is the length of B1 member? See for the dead load case, you have to refer the dead load figure. That you measure this length B1. Let us say it is 10 centimeter, and as per our scale, 1 kilonewton is equals to 1 centimeter. So it is 10 centimeter. That means it is 100 kilonewton. Okay, so the force in the member B1 due to the dead load will be 100 kilonewton. This B1 member, force in this member B1 will be 100 kilonewton, and the direction, see you have drawn this in this direction. So the force here will be in, it is towards the joint. That means it is compression in nature. So this force will be compression in nature. So here we have taken compression as negative sign, compression negative, tension positive. So B1 is minus 58. Likewise, you find all the member forces for the dead load, for the live load, for the wind load on windward side, and on the leeward side. And then you add the combination 1.5 dead load plus live load, 1.2 dead load plus live load plus wind load, 1.5 dead load plus wind load. And from all of these, the maximum is these are all, you can group this member. See this B1, C2, D5, they are all the members of the principal lofter. This B1, C2, D5, E6, F8, G9, H12, I13, they are all the members of principal lofter. So we'll provide a common section to all the principal lofter members. Then similarly this K1, K3, K7, K11, K13, they are the members of the main tie. So you can group them together and have a single member. So these are all the principal lofter, members of principal lofter. These are 1K, 3K, 7K, 11K, they are the main tie. And this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, they are the they are all web members. These all are web members actually, but some are some are these are under predominantly under these are under these are actually tension web members under tension, predominantly under tension. These are web members under compression, and these are also means they are named as these are struts. These are minus links. These are also minus links. So these are struts, minus links. These are also minor links. Now, if you see this, the maximum compression here is 165.75 in member I13 and B1. Okay, so that is the maximum compression, and the maximum tension is 116.872. Okay, so this member is under gravity loading, it is under compression. Okay, so this should be designed. This should be designed for 165 kilonewton, and it should be checked for 116 kilonewton tension. Okay, this is design load, and this is check load. Means the principal afters are compression members. So this will be the design load, and this will be the check load. But it should also be checked for the tension under the reversal of loading due to the wind load case. So this is the check load, and this is the dead load. Similarly, the main tie is actually a tension member. So this is the design load, 148 kilonewton. So you can see this under dead load live load combination, which is that is under gravity loading, that it behaves as a tension member. So this is a tension member. So it should be designed for this much tension force. So this is the design force. Design load, and it should be checked for the compression force of 195.0626 kilonewtons. That is the check load. So this is check load. So it should also, you design it for 148 kilonewton, but you should also check this for 95.2608 kilonewton compressive load also. So design it as a tension member and check it as a compression member for this much load. Same way for all these members. See, these members are compression under gravity loading. So these are basically compression members. So, and maximum compressive force is 35.4. So this is the design load, and the maximum tension is 45.192. So that is the check load. Okay. Sometimes you have designed this for, let us say you have designed this for 45 kilonewton, and when you are checking this for 35 kilonewton compression, you might have to revise the section you have selected in tension member, in design of tension member. So you have to choose a section which satisfy both these case, tension as well as compression. Then here it is actually a tension member. Under gravity loading, it is under tension. So these are tension members. So you have to design it for 19.95 kilonewton load, but at the same time you have to check it for the compression load of 26.532. Now when you design for a tension of 19.95, obviously you will have smaller section, and when you check it for 26.532, you will require more section. So at the time of designing for the tension member for 19.95 kiloton, you have to choose such a section that will also satisfy these design requirements on the compression loading. Then this member is also under tension, and the maximum tension is 58.05, and the maximum compression is 76.146. So you design it for tension and check it for the compression. You can do reverse also. You design it for 76.146 and check it for 58.05. And note that the sections requirement for compression loads are more than the tension section requirement for the tension load. Okay, section requirement for compressive loads are more than the requirement for the than that for the tension members. So if you design for these members, if you design for compression force and then check it for tension, your trials would be reduced, because these compression sections require more section compared to the tension force. So let's stop here. So today we have analyzed the truss for dead load, live load and wind load using graphical method, and then we obtained the governing forces both for the design as well as check for various members of the roof truss. So in the next class we'll design these typical sections like principal rafter, then main tie, then struts, minor slings, and will do the connections of the roof truss. Okay, so let's stop here, and if you have any doubt we can discuss now.